Picture this. The year is 2003.
Right.
You are walking through the Soho district of London. It's late. The streets are slick with rain. The neon signs are reflecting off the pavement. And you turn a corner and just stumble upon a young man collapsed in the street.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He is completely unresponsive, lying in a literal pool of his own blood and vomit.
God, that's grim.
It is. Paramedics arrive, they manage to load him into an ambulance, and later, the doctor who treats him looks him dead in the eye and delivers this terrifyingly simple verdict. He says, "If you continue like this, you will never come back."
I mean, that is the absolute clinical definition of rock bottom.
Exactly.
It's that moment when the human body just, refuses to carry the psychological burden any further. The line between life and death becomes razor thin.
Right.
Yeah.
And that man lying on the Soho pavement, that was Tom Hardy.
It's still so hard to wrap your head around that.
It really is. And that intense paradox, the man dying in the street versus the generational, untouchable talent we see on screen today. That is exactly what we are pulling apart on this deep dive.
I'm really looking forward to this one.
Me too. Our mission today, based on all the general knowledge and background our research team has compiled, is to unpack the incredible duality of Tom Hardy. We're going to explore how his darkest demons kind of fueled his meteoric rise to the top of the industry.
Yeah, and we have to examine that incredibly fine, often blurred line between creative genius and just total professional self-destruction.
Exactly, because it's a fascinating character study.
It totally is.
Yeah.
We're looking at an individual who survived the absolute worst of himself, yet seemingly held on to the very damage, quote-unquote, that made him a star in the first place.
Right, like the survival didn't erase the chaos.
No, not at all. Just redirected it.
So let's look at where that chaos actually started, because the origins of Tom Hardy run completely counter to the gritty, street-hardened roles he's so famous for.
Yeah, people always assume he had this really rough upbringing.
Right. But he was born on September 15th, 1977 in Hammersmith, London, and raised in East Sheen. And for anyone listening who isn't familiar with London geography, East Sheen is a very pleasant, affluent, comfortable suburban area.
Oh, yeah. Very nice area.
He wasn't born into hardship at all.
No, I mean, he was an only child raised in a deeply intellectual and creative household.
Right.
His father was a comedy writer and a novelist, and his mother was an artist and a painter.
So very bohemian.
Exactly. Outwardly, this is the picture of structural stability. It's the kind of environment that encourages self-expression,
Yeah.
and it provides a very solid, well-funded safety net.
But beneath that polished exterior, there is this intense, almost feral energy. He was searching for an outlet really early on.
Yeah, he tried a bit of everything.
He did. He had a brief stint as a model, which he actually later described as soul-crushing.
I can imagine.
Right. Probably because it relies entirely on the superficial rather than the internal stuff he wanted to express. He even tried his hand at rapping.
Really? I actually didn't know about the rapping.
Yeah, it didn't last long.
Yeah.
Eventually, he found his way to acting school, with his parents footing the bill, of course, and the investment seemed to pay off incredibly fast.
It really did.
By the year 2001, at just 23 years old, he lands a role in Ridley Scott's massive war epic, Black Hawk Down.
Huge movie.
Huge, and a part in the iconic HBO series, Band of Brothers.
And so from a distance, that just looks like the classic Hollywood dream sequence, right? A privileged kid experiencing this rapid, frictionless ascent.
Yeah.
But the hidden reality of that era was that he was already in a state of slow-motion collapse.
Yeah.
The foundation holding up this brand new career was completely rotting away from the inside.
Because the truth is, from the age of 13, Hardy was trapped in a severe, escalating cycle of addiction.
13. That's so young.
It's terrifying. We're talking about starting with alcohol and cocaine as a young teenager, and eventually spiraling all the way down to crack cocaine.
Wow.
He has described this entire period of his youth as living in a constant fog, just a state of total, willful unconsciousness.
The psychology of that is terrifying when you consider adolescent brain development.
Right, because of how young he was.
Exactly. At 13, the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for risk assessment, impulse control, understanding long-term consequences, it's barely under construction.
It's just getting started.
Right. So by pumping heavy narcotics and alcohol into his system during those specific years, He was essentially numbing himself during the absolute most critical window of emotional and psychological growth.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, the brain literally rewires itself to operate in that fog.
And when you strip away the boundaries of consequence like that, the descent just speeds up. We see the ultimate test of those missing boundaries when he's just 17 years old.
Oh, this is the joyriding incident.
Yes. He gets caught joyriding in a stolen car in London, but it wasn't just a joyride. The police found a weapon on him.
Oh, man.
So between the weapon and the grand theft auto, he was staring down a potential 14-year prison sentence.
I mean, 14 years is an absolute eternity for a 17-year-old.
It's his whole life over again.
Yeah. It is a life-altering precipice that would have fundamentally derailed any future he had planned.
See, I always find this part of his biography fascinating because it totally subverts the standard Hollywood narrative.
How so?
Well, in most memoirs, this is the scared straight moment. The gavel drops, the kid sees his life flash before his eyes, and he magically turns it all around.
Like the big cinematic wake-up call.
Exactly. But Hardy miraculously escaped punishment entirely because of some bizarre legal loophole. The case was just dropped.
Wow.
And instead of being a wake-up call, surviving the legal system actually poured gasoline on his addiction. I want to dig into the mechanism of that with you. Why does dodging a 14-year bullet accelerate a downward spiral instead of stopping it?
Well, it comes right back to that developing prefrontal cortex we just talked about.
Okay.
Escaping a consequence of that magnitude doesn't teach an addicted teenager a lesson in gratitude. No. It creates a dangerous, reinforced illusion of invincibility. I mean, think about it. You already struggle with risk assessment at 17, add crack cocaine to the mix,
Right.
and then have the universe hand you a literal get-out-of-jail-free card. The brain processes that as proof that the rules of reality simply do not apply to you.
That is so dark. The legal system failing to punish him essentially validated the addiction.
Yeah.
It gave his internal demons a free pass to just push the limits even further.
The external boundaries failed completely, so the momentum of his self-destruction was just left unchecked by society.
So no one could stop him.
Right. It meant that a judge, a jail cell, or a disappointed parent was never going to be enough. The only thing that could halt that level of momentum was going to have to be a total, catastrophic, physical and biological collapse.
Which is exactly how we arrived back at that Soho Street in 2003.
Yep, full circle.
He wakes up covered in his own blood and vomit and hears a medical professional tell him, "You will never come back." The momentum finally hit a concrete wall.
His body basically issued an ultimatum that his fractured mind couldn't ignore anymore.
And to his immense credit, at age 25, he actually listened to that physical ultimatum.
He did.
He checked into rehab in 2003 with the support of his parents, and remarkably, he hasn't touched a drop of alcohol since.
Which is an incredible achievement. But anyone familiar with addiction knows that removing the chemical doesn't necessarily remove the underlying drive.
No, it leaves a void.
Exactly. He needed an anchor to replace the chaos. And he found a permanent one in 2008 when he became a father to his first son, Louis, with his then-girlfriend, Rachel Speed.
So fatherhood was the turning point.
Fatherhood completely shifted his psychological paradigm. Up until that moment, his entire existence had been about satisfying his own chaotic urges, whether that was through drugs or through acting.
It was all internal.
Right. But suddenly, there was a tiny human being entirely dependent on his stability. The biological and psychological shift of having a dependent forced his focus outward. He felt a profound, overwhelming sense of responsibility that finally grounded him in reality.
I kind of think of his recovery like building this state-of-the-art, beautifully constructed house.
Okay.
The house is his sobriety, it's his family life, his career. But he built this house directly on top of a dormant volcano.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The active eruption, the chemical addiction has been permanently plugged. The lava isn't flowing down the mountain anymore. But if you press your ear to the floorboards of that beautiful house, you can still hear the magma churning just beneath the foundation.
That is such a vivid way to put it.
Because that intense, rebellious, volatile energy didn't just evaporate because he got sober.
No, and that is the perfect way to understand his mechanics as a performer. The substance abuse was merely a symptom of a much deeper innate volatility. The addiction was neutralized, but the underlying damage remained fully intact. And because he could no longer numb that churning magma with chemicals, it had to find a new pressure release valve.
And it found that release on movie sets.
Exactly.
Hardy is actually incredibly self-aware about this dynamic, too. He once delivered this profound, honestly almost haunting quote. He said, "No matter how successful I am only a short distance away from ruining everything."
Man, that is the voice of a man who knows exactly how hot the floorboards are under his feet.
Absolutely.
He knows the volcano is always there, and managing it is just a daily exhausting exercise.
And we see that volcano venting through his professional reputation because, let's be honest, despite his immense talent, he is widely known as one of the most difficult, uncompromising actors to work with in Hollywood.
Oh, universally known for that.
Like, go back to 2002, filming Star Trek, Nemesis. Patrick Stewart, who is essentially the gold standard of classical professional acting, he noted that Hardy completely isolated himself during production.
Just shut everyone out.
Yeah. He would stay locked in his trailer, never saying good morning, never saying goodbye, just completely detached from the cast and crew.
See, the isolation serves as a defense mechanism for an actor trying to hold back that internal magma, but it is deeply disruptive to the ecosystem of a film crew.
It has to be. Filmmaking is inherently collaborative.
Exactly. When a lead actor walls themselves off, it creates a massive vacuum of communication. And that tension only escalated as his star power gave him more leverage.
Right, because nobody can tell him no.
Exactly. Look at the set of Mad Max, Fury Road in 2015.
Oh, legendary drama.
Infamous. The hostility between him and his co-star Charlize Theron is well documented. The working environment was incredibly fraught, almost combative.
Yeah, the director of Fury Road, George Miller, had a really fascinating observation about this dynamic. He said, "There is damage, but brilliance comes with that damage."
It's a very revealing quote.
I find Miller's quote so interesting because it touches on a much broader critique of the industry itself. Miller was essentially pointing out that Hollywood Wayneizes this trauma. Yes. The industry has this dangerous tendency to use a genius performance as a built-in excuse to tolerate toxic, difficult, and sometimes abusive behavior on set.
It's the classic Hollywood genius pass.
The genius pass, yeah.
As long as the dailies look spectacular, studio executives and producers will just look the other way while an actor makes the crew's life miserable. The artistic output is used to essentially launder the professional misconduct.
Which honestly forces a really uncomfortable question onto you, the listener. Are we complicit in this?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like, do we demand these incredibly dark, tortured, visceral performances so much that we basically force the film industry to tolerate a hostile work environment? When we buy a ticket to see Hardy tap into that feral, unhinged energy, are we financially rewarding the very state of mind that makes him a nightmare to work with?
It's a crucial question about consumer ethics in art, you know? We want the authenticity of the eruption, but we really don't want to think about the people who have to stand in the ash radius to capture it on film.
Right. And if you think this is just a phase he outgrew, let's fast forward to our current landscape, looking back at the last couple of years from our vantage point here in 2026.
It certainly hasn't stopped.
No. First, we need to dismiss any rumors that his career or star power is fading. His late 2024 Venom film was a massive global commercial hit, and his recent Netflix movie Havoc topped the streaming charts worldwide for over a year.
Yeah, he is arguably at the peak of his commercial viability. He is a certified, bankable, global star, which, unfortunately, means he has the ultimate leverage to dictate his own terms on set.
Which makes the 2025 Moblins drama so fascinating.
Oh, Moblins.
Yes, for those who don't know, Moblins was the smash hit Paramount series. It was directed by Guy Ritchie, co-starring absolute legends like Pierce Brosnan and Helen Mirren.
Heavy hitters.
Huge success on screen, but the reports from behind the scenes of season 2 described an absolute nightmare.
The production leagues were staggering on that one.
What were they saying?
Well, Hardy was reportedly fighting with producers constantly. He was issuing unsolicited script notes, demanding sweeping dialogue changes on the fly.
Just rewriting the show.
Basically. And most egregiously, he would refuse to leave his trailer for hours on end.
Oh, you can't do that.
Which forced veteran icons like Brosnan and Mirren to just sit around in holding areas waiting for him to emerge.
I mean, in the economics of Hollywood, that is the ultimate sin. A film set is a massive, incredibly expensive machine that burns through hundreds of thousands of dollars an hour.
Exactly.
You do not disrespect the crew's time, and you certainly do not make Dame Helen Mirren wait in a folding chair while you sulk in a trailer.
It's unthinkable. Industry insiders were calling it career suicide. People were warning that he could be blacklisted,
Right.
pointing out how easily other actors have been totally exiled from the industry for much less simply because they became uninsurable.
Right, because when you hold up production, you bleed the studio's money.
And insurance companies take notice. Usually, that is a fast track to the end of a career. The machine tolerates a lot, but it rarely tolerates losing money.
But here's the contradiction that makes Tom Hardy so unique. Helen Mirren, the woman who had to endure this behavior, who was literally made to wait on him, she came out and fiercely defended him in the press.
That was wild to see.
It was. She publicly called him the greatest actor, described him as a very special human, and said he has the kindest heart. She insisted she would work with him again in a heartbeat. And sure enough, he is confirmed to return for season 3 as his character, Harry D'Souza.
That defense from a respected veteran like Mirren is the ultimate shield. It proves that his specific brand of chaos possesses an undeniable magnetism.
I just marvel at that contradiction. Like, how does an actor commit the ultimate industry sins and still find himself fiercely protected by the very people he inconveniences?
It's baffling.
He seems completely, utterly immune to the fear of being canceled or blacklisted.
I think it boils down to the mechanics of authenticity.
What do you mean?
Well, Helen Mirren is a veteran of the stage and screen, right? She recognizes the difference between an actor who is holding up production out of sheer ego or vanity and an actor who is acting out because they are genuinely, painfully wrestling with the emotional demons required for the scene.
So she saw the process.
Exactly. She saw the damage causing the delay, but she also saw that the damage was the engine of the brilliance. She forgave the abrasive method because she deeply respected the artistic result.
Wow. So he just operates on a completely different set of rules.
He really does.
But to understand how he survives this intense on-set chaos, how he walks so close to the edge of the cliff every day without actually falling back into his old life of addiction, you really have to look at the incredibly strict boundaries he has engineered in his personal life.
That's the key to the whole paradox. The volatility on set is only sustainable because it is counterbalanced by extreme, meticulously maintained stability at home.
Right. Today, his daily reality is miles away from that Soho Street. In 2009, while filming Wuthering Heights playing Heathcliff, which is fittingly one of literature's most damaged characters,
Naturally.
he met British actress Charlotte Riley.
And their initial meeting is perfectly illustrative of how his public persona masks his private intentions.
It really is. Charlotte actually admitted she was incredibly annoyed with him when they first met.
Oh, I bet.
He had just finished playing a very violent thug in a previous role, and he was walking around the Wuthering Heights set, staying in character, just acting super aggressive and physically intimidating.
Method acting at its most annoying.
Right. She thought he was an absolute nightmare to be around, but then she realized he was actually just playing an elaborate joke.
A joke?
Yeah, he was just trying to break the ice and make the cast and crew laugh.
See, that reveals a lot about his internal wiring. Beneath the intense, intimidating exterior, there is a desperate desire to connect with people, even if his methods of doing so are highly unorthodox and easily misinterpreted.
Yeah, totally misunderstood. But it worked out. They ended up marrying in a very private, quiet ceremony in France in 2014, and they now have 2 sons together.
That's great.
And he is fiercely protective of that family unit. He keeps them completely out of the media spotlight, building a fortress around his private life.
Which he has to do.
He also channels a lot of his energy into working as an ambassador for the Prince's Trust, specifically helping vulnerable youth. It basically operates as his way of paying forward the second chance that he was handed when he was that 17-year-old kid facing prison.
It's amazing. What we are looking at here is a masterclass in psychological compartmentalization.
Definitely.
He has constructed a massive, impenetrable firewall between Tom Hardy, the volatile actor, and Tom Hardy, the stable father and husband.
And it really changes how you view his behavior on set. It's essentially a system of controlled demolition.
I like that.
His entire professional life, the intense characters, the fights with producers, the hiding in the trailer, that movie set, is his designated pressure valve.
Yes.
He goes to work, he exhaustively vents all of his difficult, damaged, chaotic, rebellious energy into these roles and these battles. He bleeds the volcano dry on company time.
Right.
And because he successfully detonates all that energy at work, he can walk through his front door at the end of the day as just a calm, stable father and husband.
The structural necessity of that setup is just fascinating.
It's survival.
Literally.
Yeah.
If he didn't have these dark, complex characters to pour that churning magma into, the energy would inevitably spill over into his personal life. It would likely lead right back to the substance abuse that nearly killed him.
Oh, for sure.
The acting isn't just a job for him. It is his required therapy. The conflict on set is his vital release.
So we've traced the arc of a man who started as a teenager completely lost in a fog of addiction, someone who nearly lost his freedom and his life on multiple occasions because his brain couldn't process boundaries.
Yeah.
And we've watched him engineer a transformation into a 2026 global superstar.
Yeah.
He managed to kill the chemical addiction, but he kept the damage.
Essential damage.
Right, the very same damage that makes him both a cinematic genius and a behind-the-scenes nightmare.
He is a walking paradox.
Yes.
An individual who absolutely requires chaos to create his art, but requires total, unwavering stability to survive his own mind.
Which leaves me with a final thought to mull over, and it's something I want you, the listener, to explore on your own.
Okay, let's hear it.
We usually view recovery as this beautiful aspirational goal of complete healing of the mind, right? Total wholeness.
Right.
But what if, for a generational talent like Tom Hardy, complete healing would actually destroy his art?
Wow. It forces you to wonder if the brilliance inherently requires the brokenness to function.
Did he consciously choose to leave a piece of his psyche fractured? Did he realize that he needed to keep that magma churning, redirecting his self-destructive urges into his characters just to survive?
That's a heavy thought.
And if that's true, it means that the collateral damage to his coworkers, the waiting, the fights, the tension on set, isn't just bad behavior or Hollywood ego.
Sure.
It's the unavoidable tax that simply must be paid for cinematic brilliance.
It challenges our entire framework of how we consume media. Like, how much of the artist's darkness are we willing to tolerate or even fund for the sake of the art?
Exactly. So next time you watch him on screen, remember that rain-slicked street in Soho. Remember the magma churning under the floorboards. Where do you draw the line between appreciating the art and tolerating the artist? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the things you think you know, and we'll catch you next time.